looking to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. In an interview with Bloomberg, President Marcos acknowledges the support of the U.S. while reaffirming Manila's autonomy in handling regional tensions. Stressing the importance of Philippine sovereignty, the President clarified that activation of the Mutual Defense Treaty with the U.S. would be reserved exclusively for scenarios where China's actions in the West Philippine Sea pose an existential threat to the Philippines. He underscored the reluctance to unnecessarily escalate tensions, stating heightening tension serves no purpose. Invoking the Mutual Defense Treaty is not something anyone desires. The latest report from the World Meteorological Organization paints a troubling picture of global climate trends, highlighting 2023 as a year marked by unprecedented climate extremes worldwide. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasizes the urgent need for action to address climate change. In a significant development, Hong Kong legislators unanimously passed a new national security law imposing severe penalties, including life imprisonment for offenses related to treason and insurrection, along with up to 20 years imprisonment for the theft of state secrets. Shifting gears to technology, humanoid robots are increasingly becoming a reality, offering the potential to revolutionize daily life. Contrary to the ominous portrayals in movies like Terminator, these robots are designed to assist and support humans. Companies like NVIDIA are at the forefront of this endeavor, with projects like Groot, aimed at creating advanced AI platforms to power these robots. First up, President Marcos Jr. emphasized the Philippines' independent stance in addressing China's assertiveness in the South China Sea, affirming that the country isn't poking the bear or acting at the United States' direction. In an interview with Bloomberg, President Marcos acknowledged U.S. support but asserted Manila's autonomy in handling regional tensions. The president emphasized that he would resort to activating the Mutual Defense Treaty with the U.S. solely in the event of China's actions in the West Philippine Sea posing an existential threat to the Philippines. He also expressed a reluctance to escalate tensions unnecessarily, stating it does not serve any purpose to heighten tensions. To say, I'm okay, I am invoking now the Mutual Defense Treaty, I don't think anyone wants that. Established in 1951, the Mutual Defense Treaty binds the Philippines and the U.S. in a defense pact, obligating both nations to assist each other in the event of aggression. Secretary of State Antony Blinken echoed U.S. commitment to the Philippines during his visit to Manila, condemning China's actions in the South China Sea as provocative and violative of international law.
These waterways are critical to the Philippines, to its security, to its economy, but they're also critical to the interests of the region, the United States, and the world. It's why we stand with the Philippines and stand by our ironclad defense commitments, including under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Article 4 extends to arm attacks on the Filipino armed forces, public vessels, aircraft, including those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea. Most important is we stand together in our determination to uphold international law for the Philippines, for everyone else, against any provocative action.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian countered U.S. involvement, stating that the U.S. has no right to intervene in maritime issues between China and the Philippines.
The U.S. is not a party to the South China Sea issue and has no right to intervene in the maritime issues between China and the Philippines. The military cooperation between the U.S. and the Philippines should not undermine China's sovereignty and maritime rights and interests in the South China Sea. Still less, should the U.S. support the Philippines' illegal claims through military cooperation. China will continue to take necessary measures to safeguard its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests and protect peace and stability in the South China Sea.
The escalating tensions between the Philippines and China, marked by recent clashes at sea, underscored the complexity of the situation in the South China Sea. President Joe Biden's upcoming summit with President Marcos and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida signals growing concerns over Chinese aggression in the region. The dispute involves multiple claimants, including Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei, with China asserting extensive territorial claims. Despite an international tribunal's ruling against China in 2016, Beijing continues to defy it, challenging the security landscape in the Indo-Pacific. President Marcos Jr. showcased the Philippines' economic growth and reforms, urging investors to seize opportunities during the World Economic Forum Country Roundtable in Malacanang. Highlighting the country's robust GDP growth, outpacing ASEAN peers, President Marcos emphasized efforts in infrastructure development, PPPs, and ease of doing business.
Today, against great odds, the Philippine economy shines as the brightest spot in the fastest growing region in the world. In 2023, the Philippines capped the year off with the highest GDP growth in all of ASEAN, including China, meeting and exceeding expectations of major multilateral organizations such as the IMF, ASEAN Plus 3, Macroeconomic Research Office, and the World Bank.
He welcomed international investment across various sectors and emphasized initiatives like the Maharlika Investment Fund.
We have also established the Philippines' first ever sovereign investment fund to channel capital toward productivity-enhancing sectors. The Maharlika Investment Fund is designed to serve as a magnet for equity financing from abroad and a vehicle for driving long-term growth without compromising efforts towards fiscal consolidation.
Additionally, the president stressed regional economic ties, including the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity and ASEAN partnerships.
Furthermore, we are actively fortifying trade and economic ties across the region to promote inclusive cooperation in a time of geo-economic fragmentation. The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity will establish a high standard commitment that will deepen economic engagement across the region. So together with ASEAN-Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, we will champion our regional economic integration as a viable pathway for shared prosperity.
The event marked a milestone in post-pandemic economic diplomacy, attended by key officials and international business leaders. Thailand's Prime Minister pledged to address air pollution during his visit to the tourist hotspot Chiang Mai, where air quality remained dangerously poor for the second consecutive day. Chiang Mai, known for its scenic beauty, faces severe air quality issues annually, especially during the early months when farmers engage in crop burning practices. Prime Minister Sretha Thavisin, currently on a 4-day tour of the northern regions, acknowledged the urgent need to combat the smog.
Well, if you compare the same period of this year, last year, the amount of PM 2.5 has been less by more than 50%. So I think we are making an improvement.
His remarks came as Chiang Mai topped IQ Air's list of the world's most polluted cities for the second consecutive day. PM 2.5 pollutant levels, which pose significant health risks, soared to 224 on Saturday afternoon, far exceeding the World Health Organization's safety standards. During his visit to Chiang Mai's Mai Cheng district, the Prime Minister, Sretha Thavisin, also visited the Command Center for Wildfires and PM 2.5 prevention, where he discussed measures to address transnational haze and regulate crop burning activities.
We are going to whatever we can to make sure that the the air condition is improved.
Earlier this year, the cabinet approved the Clean Air Act to tackle air pollution, prompted by a government report revealing that over 10 million people sought treatment for pollution-related illnesses last year in Thailand. Coinciding with Tavisin's visit, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra and opposition MP Pita Limjaroenrat also addressed the pressing issue of PM 2.5 pollution, emphasizing its severity and impact on public health. Today's report from the World Meteorological Organization paints a concerning picture of our planet's climate. Let's hear directly from the experts.
Earth is issuing a distress call. The latest State of the Global Climate Report shows a planet on the brink.
The report reveals that 2023 saw record-breaking climate extremes across the globe. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized the urgency of the situation.
Fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts. Sirens are blaring across all major indicators. Last year saw record heat, record sea levels, and record ocean surface temperatures. Glaciers likely lost more ice than ever before. Some records are just chart-topping, they are chart-busting, and changes are speeding up.
Year 2023 set new records for every single climate indicator. This annual report shows that the climate crisis is the defining challenge that humanity faces. It is closely intertwined with inequality crisis, as witnessed by growing food insecurity, population displacement, and biodiversity loss.
The report highlights alarming trends like melting glaciers and diminishing sea ice with devastating consequences worldwide.
Glaciers' loss was the largest on record last year. These are the water towers of the world. They are our fresh water reservoirs. Sea ice depletion in the Antarctica was one of the major climate facts recorded in 2023.
Despite the grim outlook, there's a positive development, a surge in renewable energy generation.
As Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization, I am now sounding the red alert about the state of the climate. There is, however, a glimmer of hope. Renewable energy generation is surging. In 2023, clean energy capacity additions increased by almost 50% over 2022.
The WMO's head of climate monitoring warns that the record-breaking trend is likely to continue.
Last 9 years, since 2015 to 2023, are the warmest year on record. The decade 2014 to 2023 is the warmest decade on record. This demonstrates the acceleration and the continuing of the warming.
The report also raises concerns about rising ocean temperatures and their impact on marine life.
The 2023 recorded between 80% to 90% of the ocean that recorded marine heat waves. So also the marine heat waves have a very strong influence on coral bleaching, and those are ecosystems that are very important for fisheries and for marine lives.
Extreme weather events like heat waves and intense precipitation are having significant social and economic consequences.
The most important extreme events that we refer to generally in our report are those related to heat or those related to extreme precipitation, because those which influence the human lives and also the socio-economic impact.
The WMO Secretary General highlights climate change as a driver of conflict and migration, urging better adaptation strategies.
Climate is a driver of conflicts and is a driver for migrations, and these migrations sometimes are completely out of our control, and we cannot help that people that is moving because they are desperate, because they cannot provide food to their families. So we have to help them adapt, and the only way that the WMO can assist very effectively in this way is through the early warnings on the one hand, and providing better climate services to really understand how to adapt to different situations.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres raised the alarm, evoking the Oscar-winning film Oppenheimer as he warned of the heightened risk of nuclear war in decades.
Humanity cannot survive a sequel of Oppenheimer. Voice after voice, alarm after alarm, survivor after survivor are calling the world back from the brink. And what is the response? States possessing nuclear weapons are absent from the table of dialogue. Investments in the tools of war are outstripping investment in the tools of peace.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has made thinly veiled threats to use nuclear weapons as he warns the West against its support for Ukraine.
Что мы готовы применять оружие, в том числе любое оружие, в том числе и такое, о котором вы сказали, если речь идет о существовании российского государства, о нанесении ущерба нашему суверенитету и независимости. Но с военно-технической точки зрения мы, конечно, готовы. Они у нас постоянно находятся в состоянии боевой готовности. Это первое. А второе, и это тоже вообще признанная вещь, наша триада, ядерная триада, она является более современной, чем любая другая триада. А таких триад только вот у нас, да, американцев, на самом деле. И мы здесь продвинулись гораздо.
Now, Guterres stressed the urgent need for disarmament and condemned nuclear saber-rattling, urging nuclear-armed states to commit to non-use of nuclear weapons.
Countries are pouring resources into deadly new nuclear technologies and spreading the threat to new domains. And some statements have raised the prospect of unleashing nuclear hell, threats that we must all denounce with clarity and force. Today, these weapons are growing in power, range, and stealth. An accidental launch is one mistake, one miscalculation, one rash act away. And ultimately, all of humanity will pay the price. A nuclear war must never be waged because a nuclear war can never be won.
But we are now witnessing a recommitment to nuclear weapons, an increase in the value attached to them that challenges the norm against their pursuit and acquisition and contributes to proliferation pressures. Furthermore, the divisions among the nuclear weapon states are such that the actors whose cooperation is key to achieving outcomes and advancing the goals of the NPT are effectively not talking to each other.
The U.S., France, along with Japan, have pledged to collaborate in a coalition to advance the Fissile Material Cutoff Treaty, aimed at prohibiting the production of plutonium and highly enriched uranium, crucial components for nuclear weapons.
We must comply with existing nuclear arms control obligations and engage constructively on potential new ones. The United States is willing to engage in bilateral arms control discussions with Russia and China right now without preconditions. All they have to do is say yes and come to the table in good faith.
Although many nuclear-armed nations have halted production, progress on the treaty has been hindered by Pakistan. Pakistan's opposition stems from concerns of being surpassed by its rival India, and it receives diplomatic backing from China.
The non-proliferation and disarmament architecture must be protected and strengthened in this current context. The CTBT has already been a great success in seeing almost the end to nuclear testing in the 27 years that the treaty has been open for signature. There is a commitment amongst even those that have nuclear weapons to a moratorium on testing. We want to keep building on that and to find the pathway in geostrategic circumstances to move towards a legally binding ban on testing, and then ultimately that as a step towards a world without nuclear weapons. Not an easy path, implied in your question, but not a path which is impossible. It's worth it.
A fresh set of national security laws is set to take effect in Hong Kong following the unanimous approval by lawmakers of a new legislation. Dubbed as Article 23 after a section of the city's mini constitution, this marks Hong Kong's second national security law. The first was imposed by Beijing in 2020 amidst the suppression of pro-democracy protests, leading to numerous arrests, civil society groups' disbandment, and the imprisonment of or exile of political figures. While officials claim the new law fulfills a constitutional duty, its broadly defined provisions have sparked condemnation from Western nations, including Britain, which urged Hong Kong to reconsider its implementation. And here's a breakdown of what you need to know. Offenses and penalties. The law targets 5 categories of crimes, including treason, insurrection, sabotage, endangering national security, external interference, espionage, and theft of state secrets. Penalties range from life imprisonment for severe offenses, like treason, for up to 20 years for espionage and sabotage. The maximum penalty for inciting hatred against China's Communist Party leadership is raised to 10 years imprisonment. Changes in law enforcement. Under the new law, suspects can be detained for up to 16 days before being charged, compared to the current maximum of 48 hours. Police can restrict suspects' access to lawyers, movements, and communications for months if granted bail.
We can't wait. I've said it very clearly. We can't afford to wait. It's for 26 years we've been waiting. We shouldn't wait any longer. The threat to national security, they are real. We have experienced all these threats. We have suffered from them badly. We were all very heartbreaking. We still remember the pain, the sorrow. We don't want to go through that painful experience again. While society as a whole looks calm and looks very safe, we still have to watch out for potential sabotage, undercurrents that try to create troubles, particularly some of the independent Hong Kong ideas are still being embedded in some people's mind, and some foreign agents may still be active in Hong Kong. And they may be conducting their activities in a deceptive way. So we have all to be careful about all these. But we will ensure that we will control the situation of Hong Kong in such a way that any potential troubles that disturbed Hong Kong's stability will be nipped in the bud. I'm very confident that the earliest that we finish enacting Article 23, then what has been troubling us for over 26 years, we can put a full stop to it, and then we can focus comprehensively on economic development.
The UN Human Rights Chief deplores the accelerated consideration and adoption of a national security bill in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China, in spite of serious concerns raised by the UN Human Rights Office about the incompatibility of many of the provisions with international human rights law. The broadly defined and vague provisions in the bill under Article 23 of Hong Kong's Basic Law could lead to the criminalisation of a wide range of conducts protected under international human rights law, including freedom of expression, freedom of peaceful assembly, and the right to receive and impart information. The High Commissioner says the ambiguity is deeply troubling, given its potential misuse and arbitrary application, including to target dissenting voices, journalists, researchers, civil society actors, and human rights defenders. As we have already seen, such provisions readily lead to self-censorship and chilling of legitimate speech and conduct in respect of matters of public interest on which open debate is vital.
Sean, we believe that these kinds of actions have the potential to accelerate the closing of Hong Kong's once open society. We're alarmed by the sweeping and what we interpret as vaguely defined provisions laid out in their Article 23 legislation.
Have you ever dreamt of a friendly robot helper? Well, get ready because humanoid robots are on the rise. Forget the scary Terminator movies. These robots are designed to make our lives easier. Companies like NVIDIA are joining the race to develop them. Their project, creatively named Groot, not the talking tree now, focuses on creating a powerful AI platform for these robots.
Physics, artificial intelligence, it all came to bear at this moment. The name of that project, General Robotics 003. I know, super good.
Imagine robots that can understand what you say, mimic movements, and even learn new skills. They could climb stairs, open doors, and even help with chores around the house. Think of it as having your own personal assistant, but way cooler. Now, these robots won't be taking over the world, but they could be working in warehouses, stores, and even assisting the elderly in the next decade. Building these robots is a challenge, but many companies are already in the game, like Tesla, with their Optimus robot, and Agility Robotics with their Digit, designed for warehouses. And let's not forget Apptronics by Mercedes, set to revolutionize car factories. So what's the secret behind these helpful robots? It's all about powerful AI models, and NVIDIA's Groot is a major player. Already in collaboration with leading robotics firms like Agility Robotics and Boston Dynamics, NVIDIA's aim is to create a comprehensive AI platform that powers the next generation of humanoid robots. While there's still debate about how advanced these robots will become, one thing's for sure, the future of robotics is looking bright, and this industry is expected to be worth a whopping $6 billion in just 10 years.
So I understand you guys are powered by Jetson. They're powered by Jetsons, little Jetson robotics computers inside. They learn to walk in Isaac Sim. Ladies and gentlemen, this is orange, and this is the famous green. They are the BDX robots of Disney. Amazing Disney research.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.